Page 24, the Erie Canal. I'd like to point out a few little things, a little trickier things, and make some suggestions here for you. Starting with the right hand, third line down on page 24, the first measure, those three B's. I would recommend a 5-4-5 just so we can use different fingers. And then for the second measure, the last two eighth notes, it's a 4-5. Now you can experiment. I would encourage you to use different fingers on repeated notes. All right, so it's like the last measure of the third line there on page 24. Whether you do a 1-2 or a 2-1 on those, and then here is a 3-1-3-1 or something, or 3-1-3-2. You need 1 and 4 available for the next one, so maybe 1 and 4 isn't good to use. So use a 3-2. Also, the last line on page 24. The first measure, you have a 1-4. You can do a 2-5 on the half note. I tend to, just so I don't have to put a thumb on a black note. You can use thumb too if you want to, but I think a 2-5 works well. Now, over on page 25 at the top, look out on the last measure. That's a syncopated. The short note comes first in that dotted rhythm, so it's one and. You see the dotted quarter note comes on the and of 1. So the measure before is that 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And then the half note comes on beat 3. The tendency is when you get this kind of rhythm is you'll want to play the note that follows this short long. You'll want to play the next note too soon. Okay? You want to play it a half a beat. I want to play it this way. 1, 2, 3. I want to play it before the third beat. I want to syncopate it also. That's not what's written, okay? You can syncopate it later. Right now, play it the way it's written. And after you learned it the way it's written, if you want to change it, that's up to you. 4. So play that on the third beat. Second line, last measure, again. Same thing. Play the D sharp F on the third beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third line down, second measure. 1 and 5 if you want on that. It's a bit of a stretch for 2 and 5, but that works too. I'm going to hold the fermata one extra count. So it's going to be like 1, 2, and. Last two fermatas at the bottom of the page, I'm going to hold for 2 counts each. Over on page 26, last measure of the first line, I would do a 4-5. That puts you in position for what's coming up. For the second line, second measure in the right hand, you see all these notes. I would not try and connect. Don't make it overly hard for yourself. You don't have to connect these. The best you can, but you can't connect those entirely because the piano won't let you, and we're not using pedal in this, so do what you can there. The next measure is the same thing. Okay. Now left hand, go back up to the top page 24. Let's look at this. Starting out down here with the simple enough, rest, rest, rest. Now look out because it's 3, 4, 3. It's a triplet. Triple it here. So it's 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, for the most part, the left hand's just got these broken chords. I would play them separated, not staccato, but separated. I would not do a legato. You can experiment and see what you think. It's an interpretive thing. If you like a better legato, I guess that's your interpretation, but I would not do it. When you get to the top of page 25, it will be legato because the pedal's going to make it legato, so it doesn't matter. Last note on the first line on page 25 is thumb and plays both of those. The same thing for the second line. Thumb's going to play them both. And in the left hand, straightforward on page 26. I don't have anything to say for that. A few minor little things that I want to bring out here is over on page 24. You look at second line, look at the double bars between the first and second measure. That's telling you it's a different section. Remember musical form, we talk about sections. This is a different section. So all this prior to those double bars is an introduction. It doesn't say introduction, but it is. It just sets the mood of the piece. And then there's a pickup to it, which is the beat right before the double bars. Is a pickup to the actual music. In other words, you could play this piece and leave out the introduction. Just start with the last beat of the first measure of the second line on page 24. Now that would be fine. So I just want you to understand it is an introduction. Now when you get down to the bottom of page 24, at the end you'll see another double bar. So that means we're going into another section. This is... And when you get down to the bottom of page 25, there's another double bar, which means we're going into another section. So the thing has sections. Just nice to understand what's going on in the music sometimes. It doesn't affect how you play it. Now at the bottom of page 25, the last line, you see a slower, which I can't do with a metronome, but normally you would slow this part down. Can't do that with a metronome, but you can. And there's also an NC. Now they put in parentheses what it means. It means no chord. The idea is if you have a guitar player or other people, instruments playing with you, because they give you the chords, you can. In this measure, they have to be quiet. They don't want it. It's strictly piano. And then in the next measure, they can come back in. Now at the bottom of page 26, there's a first and second ending, which would take you back to the beginning of the piece. But since there's a page turn in the way here, I'm not going to do the first ending. I'm going to skip it. In the play with me part, I'm only going to do the second ending. Both endings are almost identical, so it doesn't matter. You're not going to lose anything. The only thing you lose is the last beat of the first ending in the left hand. You have to figure out the page turn if you're going to perform this for somebody, because you can't stop like we do and turn the page and then count us in again, because when we do the play with me together, I'm going to do page 24 and 25 and then I'm going to stop. Then we're going to turn the page and I'm going to count us in again and we'll play page 26. You can't do that if you're performing. You've got to keep going. So the trick is, how do you get the page turned? Well, in this piece again, it's not too bad, because at the bottom of page 25 you have fermatas, so you can hold the notes a little longer, and the pedals down, so you don't need your hands. Yay! So when you play that last chord on page 25 with the pedal down, you can lift up with either hand or both, turn the page, and when you're ready, go on. That makes it easy. This is one of the easier page turns. Now the pedal. You have a legato pedal on page 25. Do it just like they're saying it. The only thing would be at the end of each of those lines. I would not legato pedal that because they're different phrasing, and I like to have breaks or silence between the phrases. So when I get to the end of the first line, it's going to be here. I'm going to lift the pedal up with the hands so I get a little bit of silence before I go on. So to demonstrate I'll do the last measure of the first line going into the first measure of the second line. I would do it this way. So just a little bit of silence between them. Now at the end of the second line, there's a pickup going into the phrase. I want to break between the pickup before it, right? So between the dotted quarter note and the eighth note, the pedal's got to come up so I get some silence in the right hand. I do not get silence in the left hand. There's no phrasing mark there. So the left hand is legato, pretty much. It's only the right hand. So I'm going to lift the pedal up right after I play beat 4 in the left hand, before I play the end. So the last measure of the second line going into the next line is this way. And the pedal is up during the 8th note. I don't put it down until after I play the first beat of the next measure. But I'm holding the left-hand quarter down while I'm doing that. At the end of the 3rd line is very similar, except I don't have a note in the left hand. So the right hand is by itself. So when I'm done with that fermata chord, right before or when the hands come up, pedal comes up with them. So it's here and then up, and then I continue. Then at the end of the page, the last 2 chords, it's legato. And you hold it down while you turn the page and do all that junk. And that's pretty much it for the pedal. Not too bad. Let's try this out together. 4/4 time will give us 4 counts. So left hand, right hand, foot's on the pedal. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Turn the page. 1, 2, ready, go.